Welcome back to the Operation Freedom YouTube channel. What we do here is shine the light of truth on the deep state. They hate that. We do it figuratively with our presentations. We do it literally with our sponsor's product, PatriotLegacy.com. PatriotLegacy.com, featured product of theirs, the Patriot Beacon. 6 overall lighting functions. In addition, solar powered, don't need batteries. You can charge your other devices like your phone from it. In addition, you got a compass, you got a window breaking hammer, and you got a seatbelt cutter. Plus, if those deep state dweebs get just a little bit too close to you, blast them with this. They're gone. Go to patrioticlegacy.com, patrioticlegacy.com. Get yourself, your kids, your grandkids, your car. Can carry it with you anytime. patrioticlegacy.com, the Patriot Beacon. Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Operation Freedom Briefings. The goal of these briefings and my weekly radio show, Operation Freedom, is to provide you information the bought-off lamestream fake media will never touch and will never present. You can join me every Sunday. The show is live and it's free. All you have to do is go to davejanda.com, hit the Listen Live button right in the middle of the top part of the homepage. It'll connect you to Wham Talk 1600 streaming service. Hit the play button and join us. It's live. It's Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern. Great guests, great analysis, great information. Information to keep you safe. Information to empower you. I hope you'll join us. I also hope you join us on the website, davejanda.com. We have the free, the public side, as well as the subscription side with the extra shows, the extra content, all the podcasts, all available for you at a very reasonable fee. I believe it's the biggest bang for the buck in all the internet. I hope you become part of our freedom family. The title of today's presentation is Turn Off the Lame Stream Fear Machine. Yeah. The bought-off lamestream fake media, as we've outlined countless times, is a tentacle of the deep state. They're there to misinform you, disinform you, and to keep you in fear and in panic. My dad, for decades, used to, whenever some bad event would happen, he'd see through it. Standard response, quote, "Panic is easy. A measured, rational response is what is really hard and difficult." End quote. We're dealing with an infectious disease issue. Many people have called it the coronavirus. It's politically incorrect to call it the Wuhan virus. I call it a freedom-stripping virus. Yeah. Interesting, I'm sure it's pure coincidence, that this virus reared its head right when the freedom movement was moving and gaining ground in Hong Kong and moving into mainland China. And all of a sudden, the virus hit. Since then, you haven't heard a word about freedom in China or Hong Kong. And then that virus was exported around the world, and in particular to the shores of the United States. Hubs in Los Angeles and San Francisco and Seattle initially. And now it's spread across our country, that virus. And what's it doing? Stripping every American of our freedoms. From here on out, I'm calling it the freedom-stripping virus. And to say that the deep state is not involved in that fear and panic machine that the bought-off lamestream fake media has become is not being fair to the deep state. They're completely attributable to the fear and the panic and the chaos that has resulted from this freedom-stripping virus. That's their playbook. Death, destruction, and chaos. And out of their playbook, they've played it time and time again. They get more power, more control, and more of their always precious to them money. How do we combat this fear machine? I believe what my dad had taught me over the years. You address that rational, measured approach based on facts and data. So let's provide some facts and data to you that you'll never get from the bought-off lamestream fake media that's in the process of continual fear and panic. Let's look at the influenza in the United States, standard influenza. Between October 1st, 2019 and March 1st, 2020, 34 million Americans suffered from being sick with the flu. 34 million. Between 20 million and 50 million Americans died in that time period, that 5-month time period, in the United States from the flu. This according to the CDC. 350,000 Americans were hospitalized with the flu. Well, let's look at the freedom stripping virus that was passed on to us, exported to us from China. There are, at this point, less than 5,000 Americans that have been diagnosed with that virus. We have less than 100 Americans who have died, and one is too many, let alone 100. Of the less than 100 that have died, 31 were one particular nursing home in Kirkland, Washington. So it's okay. We just take it as part of doing business that between 20 and 50,000 Americans have died over the past 5 months, 6 months from the flu. Doesn't even register on our radar screen. Yet with this virus, less than 100 have died in the past couple months. And it's reason to shut the entire country down. Less than 100 deaths in the past couple months. Lately, the deaths have been approximately 10 a day. Are you aware that 22 Americans die every day because they were waiting to get a transplant and they never did? When you look at a particular disease, you have to look at the symptoms. And the symptoms of this illness are shortness of breath and fever, coughing. Smaller percentage of folks have a sore throat, that they actually cough up material, sputum. When the president does his press conferences, there are a number of people around him. And the two people that I focus on are Anthony Fauci from the NIH division and Dr. Deborah Birx, who is the person that's kind of overseeing this coronavirus response or freedom-stripping virus response. I believe both are very legitimate and excellent scientists. I believe they're apolitical, and I believe they're honest. As far as the CDC is concerned, they actually did a great thing in that 4-page brochure they handed out for what people can do to reduce their viral load at home, at school, at work, and in places that do business. There are things I have problems with in the CDC. The testing issue is one. and many other relationships they have. Financial is one that I have. But that's for another show. But if you focus on Fauci and Birx and what they say, you'll have a really good handle on facts and data. Dr. Deborah Birx the other day at one of the coronavirus press conferences when President Trump was there, spoke about the fact that the best data is coming out of South Korea, the most honest data. And I would agree with her because I've put a lot of time and effort into the research behind what's happening on a public health standpoint with this latest plate of chaos that the deep state has served us. And at a recent press conference, she stated that in South Korea, and remember, their testing system is fantastic, 3 to 4% of the people who came in with symptoms were found to have the coronavirus. 3 to 4. In other words, of all the people that came in to get tested saying, I know I have the coronavirus, I have shortness of breath, I have a fever, I'm coughing, I know I have the coronavirus. Of all those people that showed up to be tested, that had the symptoms, only 3 to 4% of them actually had the coronavirus. The rest had the standard flu and other associated pathologic entities. When you look at the case fatality rate, the case fatality rate is if you look at the number of people that are diagnosed with a particular issue, and then you look at the number of people that died from that issue. Well, look at the case fatality rate. The case fatality rate for the flu in the United States, all age groups, is 0.1%. 0.1% of folks that are diagnosed with influenza in the United States will die of the flu. That's all age groups. If you look particularly at those over 65 in the United States, 0.8% of those diagnosed with the flu die. 0.8%. If you look at South Korea, the case fatality rate with the coronavirus or the freedom-stripping virus is 0.9%. In Switzerland, with a very good reporting system, 0.6%. In Sweden, 0.2%. And in Singapore, 0%. Dr. Fauci was recently quoted as saying that he felt right now in the United States, as testing would roll out, you would see that case fatality rate very similar to what's being found in South Korea, around 1%. So in other words, 1% of those who test positive for the virus, all age groups, 1% will die. That's 1% too many. But there are people in the media, in the alternative media, that are saying that case fatality rate is 3%, 6%, 9%, 15%. When you look across all age groups. It's very obvious when you look at data here in the United States and in data across the world that those over 70 years of age have a higher incidence of having more severe symptoms and being more vulnerable to this virus. Also, and this is very important, if there are concomitant medical conditions associated. Long-standing cardiovascular disease, lung disease, diabetes, bone marrow issues, suppression of immunity and the immune system. folks that smoke. These are all individuals who are more prone to develop the symptoms. When we go back in time, not very far in time, go back to 2009. Doc Obama was the president, and he tapped Joe Biden to oversee the swine flu response in 2009. In 2009, the pandemic was declared in April of 2009, and it wasn't until October of 2009 that Doc Obama declared a national emergency. What was he doing in that time frame? How about this? Trying to jam Obamacare through. I remember I believe it was July 10th of 2009, I was asked to speak to a congressional meeting in the Capitol building about prevention and healthcare cost containment and the proposal of Obamacare. They weren't focusing on the health and welfare of the American public as related to the swine flu. They were politically trying to do everything in their power to jam Obamacare through. By the time Doc Obama declared the swine flu a national emergency, 1,000 Americans had died. I believe 100 of which were children, because swine flu not just affected the elderly predominantly, but also a number of different age groups, including the very young. In fact, when the data was all revealed, when the swine flu ended in 2010, according to the CDC, 12,500 Americans died from the swine flu. 61 million Americans were infected. 275,000 Americans had been hospitalized. Yet, we didn't shut the country down. Restaurants, bars didn't close. Some steps were taken, eventually. But here we are today. Fear and panic.